Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of the Space Cadet Sports podcast. You're gonna have to forgive me. This is something completely new. Definitely, someone said I should try to do some video podcasting, so here we go. Let's give it a shot. This is a Space Cadet Sports podcast. I'm your host, Paul Salazar Jr. I'm a Houstonian. I live here in Los Angeles, here in the studio. I'm here with Carla the dog. I am a huge Houston Astros fan, lifelong Houston Astros fan. I'm a writer, I'm a comedian. I love talking baseball, and this is just me trying to reach out to see, what other Astros fans want to talk baseball. But right now, it's a tough time for sure to talk Astros baseball. That's for sure. Oof. All right, folks, let's just get into it. I'm definitely wanting to talk about the Game 4 recap here today. So just for those of you who are new to the podcast, I'm trying different things and new things. I've been wanting to do a sports podcast for a while, so I'm happy to be jumping in here and giving it a shot. But I'm learning podcasting is hard, and sports podcasting is definitely more difficult than I thought it would be. So much respect to all the podcasters out there. I didn't go into it thinking it would be easy, but my goodness, it's a lot harder than I thought. So let's get to the game recap before I start talking too much about how hard this is. We had we had a good start. We had a good start. That's for sure. In most of our games, but this game was kind of the reverse one. J.P. France was a starting pitcher for us, and he didn't do too bad. It's just that the Yankees kind of got on the board first there in the second inning. In the second inning, Giancarlo Stanton doubled on a line drive to left field. Later on, Jose Trevino singled on a pop-up to John Singleton, and Stanton scored, so that put the Yankees up 1-0 in the top of the second. It was kind of a tough one in the bottom of the third. Jeremy Pena tried to steal a base. The Yankees challenged that play, the tag on the play, and it was overturned. Jeremy Pena was called out. So that kind of was tough. It would have been nice if Jeremy Pena was on base, because later on in the third inning, Jose Altuve homered his first homer of the season. It was awesome to see it. You love to see it. He tied the game 1-1, but definitely at that time you very much wish that Jeremy Pena was still on base. So it was tough. We love to see Joe Espada adding base running aggressiveness to this team. The Astros have been very slow on the base pads, or not slow, but just not too aggressive on the base pads in previous seasons. It was kind of a hole in their game, if you will, but obviously they were still very successful. They weren't a highly aggressive base running team, so it's good to see them be a little aggressive here. This is one of the opportunities that definitely bit them in the butt. But you do love to see it. It's a tough one because we would have loved to be up, especially knowing knowing the final score. You really wish you had more base runners there. Then in the top of the fourth, John Birdie singled on a fly ball to right field. Anthony Rizzo was on base from a previous double. He scored, bringing it to 2-1. So that's kind of. This was a changing of the tide here in this series. For most of the series, the Astros have been up in the beginning of the game, just for the Yankees to come back and win it at the end. So, at this point in the game, I'm like, okay, maybe there could be a turnaround here. Maybe the Astros will be the one who plays spoiler to this game. It really, it really didn't turn out that way. In the top of the fifth inning, Aaron Judge had a sacrifice fly to center field. Gleyber Torres scored on, bringing it to 3-1. And that was tough. In the bottom of the sixth, though, Jose Altuve doubled on a line drive to left field. Yordan Alvarez came up to bat after Jose Altuve in that inning, and I was really hopeful there. Alvarez has been a little slow out of the gate so far this season, and not really anything in his approach. I don't mind his approach I'm not trying to be critical of what he's doing at the plate. It's just the results haven't been quite there. And you have to give it to the New York Yankees pitchers because they did a really good job of pitching to Alvarez, I believe, this series. Especially in this game. I saw a lot of them getting at the edges of the strike zone, but it wasn't just that. They were hitting the strike zone, or at least creating enough doubt for the umpire to call it a strike or for Alvarez to consider swinging at it. So, as much as I hate to say it, you got to give kudos to the Yankees pitchers there. But unfortunately, Alvarez flied out to left field in the bottom of the sixth. But luckily, Kyle Tucker, who now hits after Alvarez, doubled into right field. Jose Altuve scored, bringing the score to 3-2. And at that point, the Yankees took out Clark Schmidt. They did a pitching substitution to bring in Jonathan Loagzia. I know I'm mispronouncing that. I'm so bad. I used to always think it's funny when people mispronounce people's names, on podcasts or on shows like that, because it's like, oh, come on, you could learn how to pronounce a person's name. But when I started doing, the research here for a podcast, just something about memorizing those pronunciations that when I get on camera or on mic, I just kind of panic a little bit and I have trouble pronouncing some names. So I just want to say out the gate here in this podcast, I'm never trying to be disrespectful to somebody's name by mispronouncing it. I just have a bit of a mush mouth. So please don't think that I'm throwing any shade at any pitchers here by mispronouncing names or any players for mispronouncing names. That's just me being a goober. But yeah, so they changed pitchers there, the Yankees did. Pardon me. Kyle Tucker's on second base. Bregman grounds out. But then Diaz is up, and he hits a ground ball to center field. Kyle Tucker scores on that, so at that point we tie the game up 3-3. The juice box is juiced. Everybody's happy to see the Astros come back. It's been a tough homestand for Astros fans. It's been a tough homestand for Astros fans for a while now. I really don't want to get too far into the narrative of the Astros losing at home. Obviously, there's something there. The Astros have not been doing well at home for some time, but I don't know what it is. I mean, you watch the Astros this series, there's just been a lot of bad luck is what I'll call it. There's just been just the way the ball bounces. When I played baseball, which, I'm not some previous professional baseball player. I just want to put that out there. Whenever I say when I played baseball, most of the time I'm a teenager. I'm a high schooler or even younger when I'm talking about when I played baseball. So just carte blanche. I'm not one of these retired baseball players who you don't know who had a cup of coffee in the league. No, I'm just a fan. So when I talk about playing baseball, it's little league and high school. But when I played, I was a fairly lucky player, I feel like, and I think that's something I had on my side. I really never. I think I only got hit in the head once where I took a bad ball to the eye, and it kind of gave me a black eye and stuff like that. But mostly, I always would joke about the balls never took a bad bounce for me. And it just seems like this whole series has just been a bad bounce for the Astros. They haven't necessarily been executing too poorly. I wish the execution could be better on both sides of the ball, but it seems a lot of times it's just been a bad bounce. So the juice box was super happy to see Diaz tie it up there. Even after that, there was a little bit more optimism. John Singleton singled after that. Singleton started this game for Abreu, who just took some time off, which I'm happy to see it. One of Abreu's problems last season, I believe, was the fact that he just didn't take too many games off. And I love that kind of mentality in a player that doesn't want to take games off. But I think in this point of his career, it's maybe a time where rest and rehabilitation might be more important than pushing and staying in a groove. I'm definitely not a professional player, so I don't know what exactly why he's pushing to play every game. Maybe it's a contractual thing where he's trying to hit a certain amount of at-bats or something. But it is promising to see that Espada and Abreu have a relationship where this early in the season, Espada can replace Abreu with John Singleton. I know a lot of people have problems with John Singleton. Maybe he's not the spell first baseman that the Astros fans desire right now. But it is good to see Singleton in there because it means Abreu can take a spell every now and then. We probably want Abreu resting at least once a week just where he's at in his career, just where it looks like his statistics are. So that's really promising to see, and it's great to see Singleton hit a single here, because we really, at least for me, when a player is wearing Houston on their chest, when a player is wearing Astros, I'm rooting for them. You have to be kind of a villain, or kind of to have a very, very shady past for me to not be rooting for you if you're wearing Houston. So I, for one, am happy to see John Singleton do well. It's good to see him get that single, Singleton. And then after that, optimism keeps going. Chas McCormick hit a single. Diaz got to third, Singleton's at second, and McCormick, the Tasmanian Devil himself, is on first. Pena is out, and Pena has kind of been on a tear recently. It's good to see, not that big of a tear. He obviously, we're waiting for Pena to hit that jalapeno popper. We want him to hit a home run, who I believe he hasn't hit one since the summer of last season. So we definitely want to see that. But it looks like he's kind of having fun playing. I like to see the eye black on him. He kind of looks, a little more intense than the cherub smile that he has had on him and worn the last couple seasons. I like a little bit more intensity from Pena there with that look, but unfortunately he grounded out in this situation, and the game remained 3-3 as we went to the seventh. It was good to see Taylor Scott. The Astros replaced. I kind of skipped over that there in my notes, but the Astros replaced J.P. France in the top of the sixth with Taylor Scott, who, definitely I talked about how he, he's had his struggles out of the gate. We're rooting for Taylor Scott as well. He did great. He really got some really big strikeouts. It's good to see his stuff. He looks like he could be a really good option for middle relief, and it's also good to see a reliever be able to get into an inning, get a strikeout, take a seat in the dugout for a little bit, and come back and keep firing on all cylinders. Oh, there's Carla the dog. She's eating her treats over there. Sorry for the the extra audio. She loves being on mic. But yeah, it was good to see Taylor Scott kind of do that, because right now, especially, we're in a part of the season where we have a lot of games in a row, so it's good to see a pitcher like that be able to pitch multiple innings, because we're going to need that, at least in this stretch of the season right now. The bullpen looks a little taxed, so it's good to see guys like Taylor Scott, and here in the seventh, they replaced Taylor Scott with Brian Abreu, and Abreu came in. Juan Soto was about to bat, and the way Soto's been dealing with us, it's good to see Espada take Scott out after he let up a walk and bring Abreu in, and Abreu got the out there. I also, a positive I've seen that I wanted to mention is Espada seems to be really good. I've liked at least his managerial style in pulling pitchers. There's been some moments where a pitcher has he's getting a little tired, losing a little bit of his command, and he's hit a batter. And Espada has pulled them out immediately. Not wanting the drama, it's too early in the season to be pushing your pitchers and stretching them out when they're not too stretched out at this moment. I've liked Espada's hook whenever pitchers are looking tired. He's not leaving them in too long. So I was glad to see that hook of Taylor Scott. I'm glad Taylor Scott did so well. But yeah, it looked like he was getting a little tired. He walked the batter. Bring Abreu in, because we don't want to see Soto absolutely destroy us in another moment. So in the bottom of the seventh, Jake Meyer started off with a strikeout, but Jose Altuve walked, and then they took out my friend Jonathan Loagzia, and replaced him with Caleb Ferguson. I'm very sorry, Jonathan. No shade, bro. I'll learn. I'll take some time. I'll put it in my notes here to commit it to memory. But respect on Caleb Ferguson's name, because he came in and he struck out Alvarez, and this was a huge strikeout. I definitely was hoping for a big Alvarez moment here. I wanted a Yordong, that's for sure. And yeah, and once again, Yordan isn't like, he definitely has been taking some strikes, but they're kind of out of reach. And I've been saying how I want the Astros to have a very patient approach at the plate. And sometimes, your first strike or two that you take, because it's not ideal. And Yordan knows he wants to do something with this, and he doesn't want to just take the bait at a grounder that will probably turn into a double play. So, him taking those strikes, I don't think it's necessarily a bad sign of where Jordan's at. I think he's at a good place with his eye and his patience. It just, you got to give respect to Ferguson. He had a good, he had a good he had a good pitch progression against Alvarez. But then after that, Ferguson threw a wild pitch, throwing error by catcher Trevino, the catcher Jose Trevino. Kyle Tucker walked there, but then we just couldn't develop anything with that there. Bregman grounds out, and so we move on to the eighth. In the eighth, we still have Abreu. There was potential that we'd bring in another pitcher, but Espada kept Abreu in there. I like that. Abreu's had a little bit more rest. He kind of got rocked the other game. He's looking good. He's had a good spring training. Let him kind of knock some of the dust off. Let him get some big outs. They had Judge. He struck Judge out in the top of the eighth. Rizzo got a single though. To center, but then Abreu struck out Stanton. So that was really good to see. But then once again with the seesaw here with Abreu, he gave up a single to Verdugo, but then got out from John Birdie and got out at the eighth. So it was really good to see. At this point in the game, we're like, okay, this is kind of what we've been hoping for. Is the Astros? We got past the middle relief issues this game. Taylor Scott was nails. We haven't had a starting pitching issue. But yeah, we're getting to the back end of our bullpen where we feel very confident, So we get to the eighth, but, we're really hopeful at this point the Astros can turn it around and show us that they can score some runs in the last part of the game here. And in the eighth, Diaz flied out, then Espada took out actually what happened is the Yankees subbed Ferguson out for Birdie. They brought in a right-handed pitcher, and then, Espada took Singleton out for Abreu. So, I kind of like this. I like the fact that Espada is not too shy about pinch hitting people in the late innings. I feel like it's something that Dusty Baker was hesitant to do, and a lot of things. One of the reasons that people were very critical of him is they wanted more substitute or more pinch hitting for Maldonado, maybe getting Diaz in last season, stuff like that. So, it is nice to see like all these complaints that bloggers and podcasters and all these people that Dusty Baker says, criticized him too much last season. It's, it seems like Espada has listened to that, for better or for worse. Espada has listened. At least he's more of a new school manager. He's doing things that the fan base kind of wants to see or wanted to see Dusty do last season. But sadly, Abreu did strike out, so it's been kind of tough because we have wanted to see those extra moves, but they really haven't developed into Astros winning quite yet. So we're hopeful that those moves equate to winning later. Because at the bottom of the eighth, the Astros couldn't do anything. So in the top of the ninth, Abreu's in now for Singleton at first base, and Hader comes in to pitch for Abreu. There's a ground out. Jose Trevino hits a line drive up the middle off of Josh Hader, but Bregman, in his stellar defense, he charges the ball and barehands it and gets the out at first. There's been a lot of up and down defense so far in this series. There's been some bad luck defense, but it's good to see that no one's really shaken too much. Everybody's still committed. Everybody's out there, not like, looking at their shoes and kicking the dirt. Everybody's committed on defense. It was good to see that. Then it kept looking promising. Hader struck out Cabrera, who's been just on a tear lately. If you've been paying attention, Oswaldo Cabrera has started the season off very strong. And there's so strongly that people are pretty much claiming him to be an MVP already. There's been, I believe, talk in baseball and other publications now have the New York Yankees winning the American League, and going to the World Series. And they even have, I believe, in one bracket, it was like the Yankees taking the Astros out in the divisional round, and the Yankees beating the Rangers to go to the World Series. And this is all just based off of these 4 games, because not a lot of people were optimistic about the Yankees going into the season. Not even my most bullish Yankees fans that text me every day and love talking mess with me. So I'm saying the Yankees are definitely better than we thought they were, but it is kind of funny to see, I love it whenever the media on the coast gets really excited about their baseball teams, and just the projections are through the roof. I do think the Yankees are going to be good. Their patience hitting, the fact that they might not have the best names on paper, but the fact that they're going out there and executing their game plan. Aaron Boone is a good manager. Like, these are a lot of good things to be optimistic about my most hated rivals, the New York Yankees. But I also don't know for sure if they are quite World Series favorites. It looks like it might be a little cloudier in the American League. That's taken a lot of disrespect off the Astros, who've been great for many seasons. It's also, the Orioles for sure look amazing, and a lot of people project them to go to the World Series. And also, I hate to say it, don't want to talk about another rival, but the Rangers are the reigning champs. So, I think we need to temper expectations for the Yankees, but also we need to temper our depression with the Astros. It isn't quite as bad as we think it is. It isn't time to bury them. The golden era isn't over. At least, not in the first week of the season. But that being said, I feel like I'm vamping because I don't want to get to what happens next. So Cabrera strikes out. We're 1 out away from getting out of the inning, and Gleyber Torres hits a single to right field. And then Gleyber Torres just steals second base. Hader was really focused on Soto, who was up at bat, and I don't blame him. Soto has been had an amazing stick all series, but it turns out that stealing second base really came to bite us because Juan Soto singled line drive to left field that just was out of the reach of Chas McCormick. Gleyber Torres had a good run from second and was able to score pretty easily on the single, making it 4-3. And then Aaron Judge walks up, who has been really quiet this series. He's always struggled against the Astros, and he's been hoping to get out of that, but he got struck out here in the ninth. I don't know what it is. It's just one of those narrative things that people don't want to hear anymore. Just like I don't want to hear about the Astros losing so much at home. Yankees fans don't want to hear about Judge's struggles against Astros pitching somehow. And, I think it's just he's definitely one of the more aggressive swingers on the team. Our pitching tends to do well against that. But, definitely he always makes me nervous. And it doesn't matter what his history is against the Astros. You look at his history against the league, and you see him up there. He's a menace. So it was good to see him strike out. In the bottom of the ninth, we're here hoping that the Astros turn it around. It looks good. Clay Holmes, the Yankees closer, comes in for Nick Birdie. Jeremy Pena starts us off with a single. We pinch hit Caratini for Myers once again. Espada here being his little Shirley Temple, getting cute, brings in Caratini, but it works. This is a perfect thing. Caratini gets a ground ball single just into right field. Nice little piece of veteran hitting. Now we have Pena on second, who has good speed. We have Caratini on first. So Espada replaces him, subs him out for Dubon. So Dubon's now on first. We have speed on the bags. We don't, hopefully not worried about some kind of double play situation. And of course we have Jose Altuve up. But sadly, I kind of buried the lead there. Jose Altuve gets an out. It's a force out. Jeremy Pena's out at third. So Dubon goes to second, and Altuve's at first for that first out. And then once again, my boy Jordan is up in a big situation. My eyes are big. It's kind of like the Marty McFly moment, the Back to the Future meme. I was like, I've seen this one before. And even though I knew the score before I finished watching the game, because sometimes I have to watch it on a delay, I was still hopeful. I was like, I don't know, maybe they got it wrong in the reporting, because it looks like the Astros are going to win this one. Sadly, Yordan Alvarez flied out here to center field. Yordan really was a king of hitting big home run, hitting big, I wish they were home runs, hitting big flyouts to the warning track. That happened sadly too many times for my liking. So it's good. It's, we're looking hopeful, but just maybe not quite there yet. I feel like Jordan's gonna figure it out. It's just a little bit more tweaks, or just getting on the ball, putting the barrel on the ball a little more. Something, he'll figure it out. It's it's just 4 games, but it definitely was a bummer. But then once again, our lineup is deep. We have Kyle Tucker coming up next, so it's like, okay, no big deal. Tucker kind of gets a nice piece of hitting there. It looks like it could drop into left field, but Verdugo, who's had a tough glove this whole series, is able to get a sliding catch. I was hopeful. I'm like, oh, this guy has a hold in his glove for some reason this series. But he catches it, does his little muscle man move, and every fan in New York and in New York apparel and Minute Maid goes crazy. Definitely a tough game. After the game, I watched the press conference with Joe Espada, and one of the things he was saying is it's baseball. And yeah, sometimes you get unlucky in baseball, and sometimes the ball bounces the wrong way. He was talking about how he still loves their approach. They still had a good game plan. It's really early in the season. We still are playing March baseball. One of his other quotes about the team was, "I like the fight." And yeah, it is really good to see the fight in this team. Even though they're making defensive errors, they're still charging the ball. They're still working hard to get those outs. Even though people's at bats haven't been exactly what they're wanting, they're being patient. They're getting more patient as they're going. The New York Yankees, I have to tip my cap to them. That kind of patience at the bat, that kind of way to attack the starting pitching, to make them pitch way more pitches than they wanted to get them out of the game early. That's what I want to see from my Astros. That's what I'm used to seeing from my Astros. They expanded the zone a lot in the first 2 games of this season, I believe, at the plate. But as they continued, I feel like they started fine-tuning, started to get a little bit more patient. Maybe the nerves were settling in a bit. I know for me, I was a really nervous hitter. So when nerves were high, when people that I wanted to impress were there, or I know that I could kind of struggle, get in my head a bit more, and I would expand the zone. I definitely was a head case at the plate. That's for sure. But back to Espada, it's one of the things he said too. Another quote was, he said, it's the team I've seen for many, many years. It's way too early to be concerned, and I think that's what it is. Is this team, he's been there. He's not hitting the panic button. He says that there's no cause for concern. Definitely there's adjustments to be made. We're hoping for adjustments. We're hoping for improvements. We definitely want, I think maybe, it's just a conditioning thing. Maybe the batters are really tired by the end of the game. But also maybe that's just an excuse, because the Yankees batters are seemingly able to have enough energy to win these games and close them out at the end. So hopefully the Astros can figure out a way to stay consistent, to keep the pressure that this lineup can apply to pitchers all the way through the lineup, not just the starting pitcher, with the middle relievers and the closers as well. They need to be able to close these games out as batters, not just on the pitching side. He also said, quote, "We're going to do a better job executing on both sides of the ball." And that's a good thing you want to hear. We need the execution on both sides of the ball. There's been a lot of good execution. Gold star to the starting pitchers on this series. I really think, even though there was some hiccups, with Fromber, I think we needed them to execute and go deep into these games. And the way the Yankees were being patient at the plate, they really got to the starting pitching. But the starting pitching was able to do a fairly good job of staving off this lineup. I really, one of the causes for concern for sure is going to be the middle relief. We've talked about it before the season started. We're talking about it again. The middle relievers, we're looking for someone to step up, someone to emerge. Maybe, the magic man, Seth Martinez, can stay consistent and get out of jams and get, go into situations where people are on the base pads and get out of those. Or maybe Taylor Scott, maybe he's our middle relief guy. Maybe he's our bridge. They talk about how we lost a lot of arms in the pen. We lost Stanek, we lost Maton. But we got Hader. Getting Hader in there brings, pushes those arms further to the middle relief. So that's a good thing. And also we have injured starting pitching. When we get those injured starting pitchers back, some of those starting arms, Ronel Blanco, Brandon Bialik, or even J.P. France or Hunter Brown, will probably be moved to more of a traditional middle relief option for Joe Espada. But another positive definitely was Yainer Diaz. I know I said something about his pitch framing early on the podcast, and I immediately ate my words. I was not paying enough attention. This guy's pitch framing in this game was phenomenal. Not only that, but he seems to be batting really well when he's pitching. But for some reason, he's still having offensive woes when he's DHing. So I'm very optimistic about this team. I'm very optimistic about where it can go. I'm looking forward. Something this team does well, and something we have to do as fans is just put it in the rearview mirror. There's still 150 plus games in this season, and people love talking mess at Astros fans whenever they're losing. It's just part of wearing the black hat. When you're the villain, people are going to come at you. But just know that they don't hate losers. They don't hate nobodies, as Dusty Baker would say. They hate us because they ain't us. And it's nice that the New York Yankees get to have a big parade. They get to have their World Series in March. It's good for the Astros to have these woes in March. They're usually a late team. They start very slow out of the gate. There's no excuse for that. We want them to be better as April is here now. But sometimes they're a little slow out of the gate, and I can't say anything. I'm a bit of a late bloomer, so that's kind of me too. But we're hoping that they can put this behind them and move forward here to Toronto. They're playing Toronto today. If you're listening to this today on Monday, April Fools, this is no joke. They are playing later today against the Toronto Blue Jays. Ronel Blanco is going to be on the mound for us. And let's see, I believe that's going to be Bowden Francis is going to be pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays. And these are both young pitchers. They haven't started this season. There is also not a lot of at-bats and history between these pitchers and these lineups. So, we're going to see, it's going to be a very interesting game. I'm really hoping Blanco comes out. He has, just firing, hitting the strike zone, coming out early, just attacking the zone so that he can have a long outing. Because I really do like Ronel Blanco. He didn't look too great all the time last season, but I think he can be a key to success for the Astros this season. We need somebody who can be that middle reliever, that long reliever, and I know Dana Brown, General Manager Dana Brown, is very high on Blanco. So if he can execute early this season, Blanco is going to be a mainstay in this long relief position, I believe, for the rest of the season. So I'm hoping he starts off strong. I'm hoping the offense remains committed, remains strong throughout the game, and is able to put some runs up on the board late in the game. Those are kind of our keys to winning this game here today. And going forward this series, we need to be committed, or not we need to be. The Astros just need to stay focused to knocking in runs and not leaving men on base late in the games. And we need to get these starting pitchers and make sure they're getting deep enough into the games so that we're not having to rely too heavily on the middle relievers. And yeah, that's going to be it today for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I've been your host, Paul Salazar Jr. I am very much a silly goose. I'm wearing my silly goose shirt today. I'm trying to remain optimistic. Things haven't gone our way, obviously, lately, but there's no reason to sound the alarm. There's no reason to bury the Astros. This is still March baseball we're talking about, okay? So don't be an April Fool, all right? Stay positive about the Astros here. Yeah, I'm a silly goose. You know that kid in the hot dog? That's me. When people are usually telling me to be serious, and even though I might have a straight face, I'm probably making dry, sarcastic remarks and trying to get away with being as silly as possible. So definitely come back to the podcast when you need a little bit of optimism about the Astros, when we're not doing too well, when we are going to do well later, just later today. I feel like I think the Astros are going to win this series. I'll say it. I think they're going to bounce back. I'm going to say they take 2-3 out of the series here against Toronto, and we're going to use that momentum to carry over into the weekend to beat those Texas Rangers, because that's, I'm putting it out there. I'm secreting to this out into the universe. Okay, folks. So let me know what you think of the podcast. Subscribe, rate, like, review. Find me on social media at Paul Salazar Jr. on all the cool social media platforms. Check out the Substack, spacecadetsports.substack.com. Hope you're having a good day. Keep your head up, son. Vamos, vamos, Astros.